What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of The Breakdown. You see it, Kawhi Leonard right there. San Antonio Spurs finish off the Miami Heat in 5 games. I don't think anybody's seen that coming. 5 games over the Miami Heat, especially after how the first 2 games, and they won every game by more than 15 points. The Miami Heat barely won game 2. So you could arguably make an argument that if Tim Duncan and Tony Parker hit those free throws, Miami Heat would have got swept this series. So at the end of the video, as always, I always want to get you guys' thoughts. But I'm finna to break this down. The San Antonio Spurs, the 2013-2014 San Antonio Spurs for a single season, the last 20 years, this is one of the top 5 teams the last 20 years. I don't think you can question that. Was Miami as good as they were last year? No, they were not. And I stuck to that. I stuck to that through thick and thin these playoffs, and now you guys seen it. Miami was not as good as they were last year. And I kept telling a lot of people that. I told people who commented on my videos. I told people outside of my videos. Nobody wanted to listen, but Miami was not as good as they were last year. With that being said, that has nothing to do with why the Spurs won this title. The Spurs were better than they were last year, and obviously San Antonio was like I said, this is for a single season. This San Antonio Spurs team, this may be the best overall Spurs team that has won. Out of the 5 teams that has won, you could argue that this one is the best. But I mean, if you want to say the other ones are the best, then so be it. I mean, those are great teams too. But like I said, I can argue with you that this is one of the top 5 teams the last 20 years in the NBA for a single season. Not saying that they're better than Jordan's Bulls, 96. Not saying that they're better than Kobe and Shaq's Lakers in 01-02. Not saying that. But after that, I mean, you have to at least put them at 4 or 5. I mean, look at the margin of victory that they had, not only in this series. I mean, but they beat the 2-time. Think about that, 2-time defending champs, Miami Heat, by more than 15 points every game. Went down to Miami and took both games in Miami. If you go back to the series before, OKC. Now that was a tough 6-game series, but look at 3 out of the 4 wins, blowouts. Blowout wins. And OKC is not a pushover. Now you can argue that, had Ibaka been there the first 2 games, maybe those first 2 games would have been different. So be it. But he wasn't. And, it was a blowout. And he was there in Game 5, and they still blew him out. Also in the closeout game, Tony Parker, who led the team this postseason in scoring, was not even there. He wasn't even there the second half. The Spurs were down by 7 points on the road, came back and got the win anyway. And Patty Mills is a great backup point guard. I mean, that guy is a spark off the bench, great backup point guard. If the Spurs don't get him back, somebody's getting a good point guard. For a really good team, he's probably not a starter, but he's a great backup. Also, go back to the series before that, Portland. Portland has a solid team. They not only have Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge, but they also have Nicholas Batum. They have Wesley Matthews. And they've got the Lopez guy inside. And the Spurs blew those guys out 4-1. And not only did they blow them out 4-1, look at how much they won by in those series. Look how much they won by in those games that they beat Portland. And Portland is a good basketball team. Portland's one of the up-and-coming teams in the West. I mean, how many people thought Portland was going to beat Houston? I didn't. And the Spurs beat them about as bad as they beat the Heat. Now, if you go back to the first round, Spurs went 7 with Dallas. And I'm going to tell you why they went 7 with Dallas. Some of you guys are going to say, well, how can they be the best? But they played 8th seed Dallas, and they went 7 with Dallas. Well, Dallas was the 8th seed, but Dallas started playing well towards the end of the year. Dallas was probably better than Dallas. Well, I mean, the West was tough, But Dallas, I think the reason why Dallas gave the Spurs so much trouble is because they play a similar style of they play a similar style of ball that the Spurs play. They're a team who shares the ball. They have multiple guys who can make open shots on their team. I think the reason why the Spurs beat them is because the Spurs are more athletic than Dallas. Dallas has never been known as an athletic team, but Dallas can shoot the ball just as good as I'm not gonna say they can shoot it just as good as the Spurs, but Dallas can shoot the ball pretty good. And Dallas moves the ball. They make the extra pass. They're a lot similar to the Spurs, and so Dallas had multiple guys on the court who could score just like the Spurs do. And so I believe that's why Spurs were not able to blow Dallas out, except for that seventh game, is because Dallas can actually score just as good as the Spurs can. They just can't. Dallas can't quite go on those runs where they're just hitting three after three after three after three like the Spurs can. But overall, let's get back to this series. The San Antonio Spurs absolutely blew the doors off the Miami Heat. I mean, like I said, this was a surprise to me. You cannot blame LeBron James for this. He's still, to me, the best player in the game. But Tim Duncan gets his fifth ring. Kawhi Leonard, as you see right there, MVP of the series. Kevin Durant hating a little bit, said that Kawhi Leonard's only good because of the system. I would disagree with that. But that's another story for another day. Also, Tim Duncan gets his fifth. LeBron's now 2-3 in NBA Finals series, and so with that being said, I mean, what do you guys think about the Heat? Why did they lose this series? What do you see for them next year? What do you see for the Spurs next year? Do you think Duncan will come back? You think Ginobili will come back? I think Popovich just said he is going to come back. But I'll tell you what, if the Spurs bring back all these same guys, I mean, they'll have a chance to do this again next year if they can just keep that teamwork and keep that ball movement going. But as far as the Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade, if the Miami Heat want to move forward, Dwayne Wade can no longer be their second option. These last 2 or 3 games, especially the last 2, we saw that Dwayne Wade is not the Dwayne Wade that we're used to seeing. Still a good player, still can be a good player, but, it's kind of like saying, do we think Duncan is as good as he was when he was 26, 27 years old? Absolutely not. And this is the same thing with Dwayne Wade. He can still be a good player, a solid player in this league, but Dwayne Wade cannot finish at the rim in traffic with 2 or 3 guys. He just can't do it. He does not have the lift. I mean, we saw repeatedly Dwayne Wade drive the basket, drive down the paint, and come up short, time and time again. Dwayne Wade could not guard Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, when Dwayne Wade was guarding him, made Dwayne Wade look like a little boy. Another reason, Dwayne Wade was driving in the paint, getting blocked by Tim Duncan, who, at this point in his career, Tim Duncan does not have the lift that he once used to have as a defensive player. So with that being said, Dwayne Wade is I'm not gonna say he's washed up, but Dwayne Wade is not. Dwayne Wade's just a role player. He's not a superstar in this league anymore. I think Kevin Durant was right when they came out with the top 10 list, and Kevin Durant said I would put at the beginning of the year. Kevin Durant said that I would put he said that he would put James Harden over Dwayne Wade, and I agree with Kevin Durant. I wholeheartedly agree with him. But with that being said, like I said, Dwayne Wade is no longer the second best player on Miami. He can't be. Not if Miami wants to win a title. I think Chris Bosh has to slide into that role, and the Miami Heat need to go get a better bench. They need to reestablish their defensive presence on the defensive end, and they need to go get a center to play along with Chris Bosh. I mean, that's one thing they've lacked ever since LeBron James has been in Miami. They've lacked that inside presence. They have post guys that want to shoot threes, so Definitely not all doom and gloom for Miami. But the LeBron James has to return. So what do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys think is in the cards for the Spurs? What do you guys think is in the cards for the Heat? Will LeBron James return? But all I can say is the Spurs were the better team. Glad the better team won this time, and they absolutely blew Miami out. But like I said, Miami was not as good as they were last year. The Spurs were a bit of a better team than they were last year, and with that combination, you get results like this. So I'm out of here. Let me know what you guys think about the finals, and what do you think the future has to hold for these two teams. I'm out.